Hello, I want to talk about how to generate a residual graph for the data. And this also helps us to tell whether the model is a good fit for this data set. So to generate a residual graph, we'll assume you're already at the point where you have in your apps, you have, there's stats list. You have already created your 4 columns and have a column for residuals, for those errors, right? So what the residual plot is basically just plotting the X data, that first column, against the residuals. So that'll be along the x-axis, this will be along the y-axis. And again, these are all the errors, right? So plotting the errors against the original x data. So we want to go to F2 for plots, and we want to set up another plot and define, let's see, I think I already have it in here, so I should clear that one out. Or you know what, yeah, just go, your plot 2 might not have anything in it, but go ahead and enter in there and F1 for define, and mine won't have anything in it, so I'll clear it out here and here, and you're going to now enter these values in. So scatter plot's fine, box for the mark, and then for your x, again, x data. So we pull that from the variables link menu, so second and minus sign, and go to x and x data. And I want to plot that against what? Against the residuals, right? Which I call them res. So again, I can pull that from my variables link menu, the second minus, and then go down to R's. So I can hit R, and there's my res. Okay, so X data against the residuals, and then enter to OK it. And there's my second plot. Now, you never want to look at your residual plot, which is in plot 2, along with your data. So arrow up and uncheck this one. Hit your F4 for unchecking the original data. It doesn't make any sense to look at them together. The residuals you only ever want to look at by itself. So we now can go to F5, zoom the data, and there's our residual values. Now, because I still had Y1 turned on, it'll still graph the Y, whatever's in Y1, but it's not showing up on this graph, so that's good. Okay, so looking at the residuals, you want to look at them alone, and what I meant by that, if you go back to Y equals, see I still have the check mark there. So sometimes you might have your regression line showing up and it'll be distracting, so you can turn it off by hitting F4, and then go back and look at the graph. And you know, if it happened to be right in the middle of it. So what are we looking for with this data? We want to make sure it's random, because you don't want patterns to your error, right? It's bad for somebody to track to be able to predict that you're going to do something wrong all the time. No patterns in the error, right? And that's what residuals are. So are these fairly randomized? There's no like linear pattern or parabola you can put amongst the points, right? There's not really a relationship between them. So I say fairly random. That's good news for the model. That means that support that, or basically we wouldn't throw the model out. If you see some kind of a pattern in your residual graph, then you would try a different model, right? You throw that's bad news for the model. But as far as if it is random, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best model, but it just means it rules out any problems. Okay, so that's the 4th indicator, and we've talked about in this video just 1, but in the previous video 3 different other indicators that are all listed in your notes also on Blackboard for this folder. All right.